Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be another great interview. I'm joined with David Cope, and he's actually a guy from across the pond, as my friend Mark Olroyd would say. Usually in the opposite direction, but he's across the pond in Scotland. So he's like Scotland. If you're not familiar with Scotland, it's basically like the Canada of the United Kingdom, because like it's superior because it's at the top. It's just like Canada. We're at the top of the totem pole. So it's the same kind of thing. Um, and actually, where I grew up was very Scottish. Everyone was named something Mac, so I can relate very well with Scotland. And it his channel is Epoc252, and basically his channel he responds to my challenge videos, which is really great. So that's really the reason I brought him onto the show, because he's pretty dedicated to responding to my challenges, my Friday challenges, and he actually has some really good information on his site, on his channel, where he's talking about the latest movie buzz or TV buzz. And we've sort of talked back and forth where I was like buying certain spec comics based on on the movie news that he was giving out. And actually, I saw that there's a bigger channel like Emergency Awesomeness or something like that, where he was actually breaking the story before they did. So I was kind of impressed by that. So without further ado, welcome to the channel, Epoch.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, so that was my very long-winded intro. Yeah, hey, how did you get into collecting comics? That's the first question I ask everybody. So
Well, for me, it was when I was quite young. I was born in the mid '80s, so I'm kind of like that '80s
Mhm.
'90s crossover kid kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so I'd watch a lot of like cool cartoons and stuff, like Transformers and
yeah,
Thundercats
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff. So Marvel UK would put out like comics that were sort of reprints of I guess the
yeah.
stuff in the US for that. And I was a big fan of the real Ghostbusters as well, which
Oh
was a
yeah, me too.
Ghostbusters cartoon. So that was the comic, the kind of the first comic that I used to get was the real Ghostbusters comic. I don't actually have an issue of it with me to show because they're all kind of like stored
Buried.
away elsewhere, and I wasn't able to get to them. But so it was really kind of for that was a big thing. And then in the UK, there's a thing called Super Mario Nation, which is uh, so it's like TV shows that are made by that are made using puppets that can like can speak
Oh,
and stuff,
like
right? So
what's the
like
one where it's like like they almost look wooden.
yeah,
Oh,
so
what's there was actually the people that did South Park made a movie
yeah,
called
they made Team America World Police. This showed. I have a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays behind me because
yeah.
I love film, but so like Super Mario Nation is this kind of thing. So Thunderbirds, if you can see that, was
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Thunderbirds.
So
So
like
like
Jerry Anderson, who made these shows, they made a kind of a few of them. So there was like Supercar, Fireball XL5 was
yeah, yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah.
Stingray, Thunderbirds,
So
Captain Scarlet.
I used to watch those. Not like I actually thought they were a little creepy, tell you the truth, but I
Yeah,
used to watch those because on Canadian TV we get all the British stuff. So
yeah.
we get Coronation Street, we get the
Oh
Thunderbirds,
yeah,
we get all this weird stuff that because they want more Canadian content, and somehow British content is Canadian content. I don't know how it works, but so I'd see those shows as well. And
yeah,
yeah, I was a little bit creeped out by
yeah.
Thunderbird for some reason, but
When I was about six, so like 1990-ish, 1991, there was a kind of a revival of those shows in the UK because they were all made in the 60s.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they repeated all the time, and there was like a second like renewed interest in it, and they remade all these toys and stuff. And they started putting out Thunderbirds comics and Stingray and Captain
mhm.
Scarlet, and again they're all kind of like packed away. But I did show some of them in one of my challenge videos. I think it was the
Yeah, yeah,
car
yeah. I've
one.
seen you
Yeah.
show.
So I have like a trade version of one of them here. But what they would do is they would they would just reprint the like this comics that were in the 60s, which was called TV 21, the comic. I don't have any of them. It's hard to find them in good condition because they were made to look like newspapers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like set in the time of the shows and stuff. So these were the kind of comics I was reading. I was reading comics based on shows. So like I say, American cartoons like Thundercats and GI Joe, or Action Forces GI Joe was called in the UK, and then like stuff like that. So I really got kind of into stuff like that, but also in 1992 when the X-Men animated series started. Yeah, look, I have that here as well, like all the seasons of that. But sorry, the different kind of like seasons of X-Men and so on. So like all those kind of Marvel shows were really good. So there was X-Men, there was the Spider-Man animated series, Iron Man and Fantastic Four and Incredible Hulk as well. So I really kind of got into those shows. So that was kind of my first kind of foray into the kind of superhero side of stuff. And I watch the shows with my younger brother as well. He's 4 or 5 years younger than me. So we just kind of got comics that way. And he used to get a comic about the time the Spider-Man animated series was on. Over here it was called Spectacular Spider-Man Adventures. I think I've shown an issue of that before as well. So it was kind of like larger, it was Marvel UK, kind of larger format British comic. Sort of the size of that book I just showed there. And they were generally kind of new and original stories, like they were kind of like made for kids, but also reprinted some of the 90s kind of tie-in comic to the animated series and stuff like that. So we both kind of got into the superheroes that way through those shows, and then just picking up. And the first superhero comic I bought was I was in one of the local newsagents, and I found one of these kind of at the back where the magazines are. So this is a UK comic. So this is called Marvel Heroes Reborn, and it's number 15.
So is that a reprint of the American edition? Is that
the idea? So what they would do is so we have like comic shops here, like everywhere else, kind of thing. I find the best way to hold this. But so we'd have like so these are the same format size as a standard kind of modern US comic.
But is it thicker? It looks thicker.
Yeah, it's thicker, and the cardstock for the cover is really thick as well, so they're quite durable. But these what they would do is so Marvel UK would put these out through Panini, a company called Panini. I kind of oversaw them, and they had when they began, they had 3 different lines. They had Astonishing Spider-Man, which would reprint Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular and Web of and that, and each of these is kind of like, I'd say it's roughly the size of like a Golden Age book, where it would it'd be like 60 pages or 76 pages or something, and each one would print 3 comics, sometimes less, and then so they had that. My brother started collecting Astonishing Spider-Man after a while, and they had one called Essential X-Men, which I would pick up sporadically, and they had Wolverine Unleashed, which became Wolverine and Gambit, and then changed its name to Wolverine and Deadpool. And they had this one, Heroes Reborn. So when this started, it was reprinting the Heroes Reborn storyline, so that kind of crossover in the 4 volumes of I guess it was FF, Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America, I think. So this was reprints of this. So it had, they're very specific with the dates on this. This was 28th of October 1998. This was released. And I remember just picking it up and going, "Oh, those cool heroes and stuff." I just love the way like Dr. Doom looked on the cover. And,
Dr. Doom is always awesome.
Yeah, because Marvel UK, from what I understand from the kind of the research I've done over the years, is that most of the when it was Marvel UK kind of doing it themselves, most of the covers were original covers.
So I think, an original cover then?
I think so, yeah. On the inside, it says the cover art for this one's done by the editor of the book, a guy called Scott Gray. It says so. I think.
So it's extra, like little bit of like almost collectability. that it's
yeah, there is, and I don't think that was true all of the time, but I think a good chunk of the time Marvel UK would just do it in house because as they'd done before. But there was this kind of transition period when Panini took over, and when Marvel UK kind of folded, um, Panini kind of published it themselves, kind of thing, and then from then on they were all just reprints of covers from America. But when it
Mhm.
was still kind of Marvel Comics, um, I, I believe for the most part they were original. Because there's another one I have here, a couple of issues later, number
Mhm.
21,
Oh wow,
which is a cool kind of Hulk cover.
that's a really
Um,
great cover.
this is done by Charlie Adler, who draws The Walking Dead,
Oh wow.
when he was doing stuff with Marvel UK, you know. So a lot of these kind of like covers for this line and the other lines, the early ones, as far as I'm aware, were original. Until Panini kind of Marvel UK folded up and Panini took over completely. So, but yeah, this was my first kind of way of getting into kind of American comics through these. Um, uh, and I should take better care of these, but they're so sturdy with the covers and stuff. They're almost like books, but they're
But do
that
they
kind of.
fit into the regular like comic sleeves or like maybe Silver Age sleeve?
Yeah, because they're the same size as the You might need a thicker bag sometimes, but they're the same size as modern comics.
Okay, okay. So
Like yeah, so like
you
about
really
here's
bag
an
and
issue
forth on
here,
that.
and like together they're roughly the same size. So they're the same format. So as I
Yeah,
suppose not to stretch the artwork and stuff like that. But
you should bag and board them then, just to be
yeah,
nice.
yeah, I need to do that. And like I say, it was funny the other day because in one of your videos you were talking about how you'd bought comics in a shoebox.
Yeah.
And these are literally kept in a shoebox.
Oh no.
They're
Okay.
covered.
Okay.
The
When I said that, I wasn't recommending it. I was
yeah,
recommending against it.
yeah, but yeah, but they're so sturdy. But yeah, I do need to transfer them over, kind of thing.
You
So
know, what I've been seeing lately is a lot of these like Mexican or foreign editions
mm,
have really spiked in value,
yeah,
especially if they have original covers.
yeah,
So you should probably better care of those ones.
yeah. No, definitely, it's on the agenda. But I think anything after it became Panini full on, were for the most part they're just
Reprints.
reprints of the covers as well. Sometimes you'll get them recolored. There was another volume that started called Mighty World of Marvel, which was originally a comic book, a UK comic book reprint series in like the 70s. But Panini took on the name and brought out Mighty World of Marvel Volume 3, and that reprinted a lot of like Frank Miller's Daredevil run. So they used the
Oh,
covers from that run, but they'd be recolored.
okay.
Kind of like they do with trade paperback. Sometimes they recolor them, the original
Yeah,
art
yeah.
to be
They're
recolored.
slightly
But
different color palette. Yeah.
yeah, but that was that, and then about that time as well, I found out there's a chain of comic book shops in the UK. It's really the main place to get comics in the UK called Forbidden Planet. I think
Oh yeah,
I
I've
saw
been
in your
there.
video. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been there.
yeah. So there's one in Glasgow. As well, and they used to have so that the shop was this kind of like thin, really narrow shop, and
Yeah.
it would have like all the modern comics and stuff that were out kind of that week. And at the back of it, there used to be a shop called City Centre Comics, which would do like back issues kind of thing. So I remember discovering this shop, one day when I was in the very late 90s. I guess I was like a 12, 13 or something like that. And I would find the back, and they'd have like like all the short boxes and long boxes, and they'd have
Yeah.
this big wall right in the back that was just covers.
Hmm.
Um, and that time I was really like getting more into comics. I was reading all this stuff. I was at UK kind of reprinting stuff, and I was like, oh, I want
Hmm.
to like check out like all this different stuff. And one of the comics they had on the back wall was this one, Amazing Spider-Man 251,
I
which
picked that up because of you.
yeah,
You showed
I
it
just
on one of my challenge.
yeah, I think it was the hand one. I
Yeah,
would guess.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, like and I just like loved this cover when I saw it, and there was no real key
It's not a
significance
key.
to this
No.
issue. I mean, you could stretch it and say, oh well, it's the last issue in Amazing Spider-Man where he's wearing his regular costume,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or you could say, oh well, it's the issue where he gets transported in the last panel to Secret Wars, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's kind of stretching it. But I mean, it's quite a decent copy, and so I've had this copy since about 1998. I just kind of rebag it every so often, but
Mhm.
I just kind of like fell in love with this cover. You know, he's like clutching the Hobgoblin mask, and one of my the Hobgoblin was quite a prevalent villain in the 90s Spider-Man
Yeah, yeah,
animated
yeah, of
series.
course. He was
So
pretty good.
it's yeah, so he became one of my he was like my favorite villain kind of thing,
Mhm.
and then kind of reading the story of the Hobgoblin for the 80s up until the Hobgoblin Lives miniseries. Like I just kind of loved the whole saga of it.
Mhm.
And so this was the very first back issue that I bought just because
Oh wow.
I fell in love with the cover, and I was like, oh, I need to get some more. And then then from then on, I was picking up little bits here and there, other amazing Spider-Mans. I mean, that I wanted to get at the time. And a lot of it was like cover buys because at that age I didn't really kind
Yeah,
of
you
know
don't
about
know. Yeah,
keys
yeah.
and stuff and that. And even now, like if my collection is not very big. I feel like a fraud sometimes in these videos because my collection's only like it's like 8.5 short boxes.
Okay.
So it's quite relatively small to some of the kind of YouTube
Yeah, I
comic
mean,
collectors that are out there.
yeah.
So and then my journey with comics isn't necessarily a straight line. It's kind of up and down. So,
Mhm.
even when I look at my comics, I do have like some keys, but I wouldn't say I have a lot of keys.
Mhm.
You know, so sometimes sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should have more keys or have this kind of thing. Um, but like I say, around about that time in 1998, so this was the first kind of like back issue I bought. And the first like issues I bought on the stands were pretty much for at least superhero wise were these two, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 number 1 and
Okay.
Peter Parker Spider-Man Volume 2 number 1. And I was like, oh, I'm really like I want to collect this. I'm going to get it every week. I'm going to do this every month, whatever, this and that. And then, I mean, of course, I was like, I guess these were 1999, so I would have been 13. um, and of
Okay.
course, I just don't have the money to, I did not have the money to be buying
Comics every week.
two
Yeah,
issues of Spider-Man every month kind of thing. And at the
yeah.
same time as well, I'd fallen in love, as you could tell, I'd fallen, because I have so many of these issues, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well, I'd fallen
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. I
love
mean,
with that
your
TV
book is
series because
awesome.
that started about that same time because we got it a little later than America.
Mhm.
So series two had already started in America, and we kind of got series one and two back to back. And then when it got to series three of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we were kind of they were airing it like a couple of weeks after the US kind of broadcast.
So did you
Um,
watch the original movie before as well, or?
no, well, I mean, I found out about it once I got into the show, but I
Mhm.
would have been 7 or 8 when it came out, and I didn't know.
Okay.
But I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I have it now. Like the DVDs, just a
yeah, yeah.
crush on it.
I like the movie, and
Yeah,
yeah.
the movie was fun as well. I rewatched it recently actually, but
Mhm.
so like I just loved the show. I loved everything about it, and I was just mad about it. Like I'd get all sorts of like Buffy merchandise, like all the VHSs at the time, and I collect a lot of trading cards. So I've got like every set of Buffy trading cards ever made, and like most of the chase cards, and you know like Buffy like books and stuff, and like comics and that, and then I found out about the comics when I was kind of visiting Forbidden Planet.
Mhm.
And I saw like in the I guess the new this week at the time was this one, Buffy the Vampire Slayer number 11, which
Oh yeah, yeah.
doesn't have any key significance either, but it was the first kind of Buffy comic that I'd bought.
But
And
I like the photo covers, especially if it's a pretty girl. So
yeah, I
she'll
mean,
get.
what they did is they would have two covers. They'd have the photo cover and then like like the artwork cover. So I think the first three
Mhm.
issues were Art Adams, and then it kind of moved to like different cover artists.
Mhm.
Um, but I always got the photo ones because I love the show. But it's quite weird to tell sometimes because I mean I know with like barcodes of comics, like you can tell
Yeah, yeah. It's
like
direct.
which edition it is. So this is like 0111.
Okay.
So you know it's like
It's not weird.
so it's 0 and 4 1. So the first two tells me that it's the 11th issue, and the second one would tell you like
If it's if
issue
it's
one if it's cover A, if it's a number
yeah,
two, it'd be cover B, and then the third one is what printing it is.
yeah.
So print one, but Buffy was weird because the barcodes for those kind of that extra barcode was the same for both the comic version and the photo version.
Oh,
And it's this bit
okay.
that was different, so that was just used to confuse me. So I was collecting them as all the photo covers. So I have that run of 63, 64 issues, whatever it is, all those photo covers.
Mhm.
And the odd one, I have the art one as well. And that's one of the things I've been trying
You
to do.
the
Pick up
art
is
one?
pick up the comic versions as well to go with them for that first Dark Horse run. But then, like I said, I went back and got some of the stuff, and then like the key stuff, or some of the key stuff for Buffy that I wanted. So some of it was stuff I picked up at the time, not knowing it was a key, because again, I was like 12 and
Yeah, yeah,
YouTube
yeah,
wasn't around yet. So I had like obviously like Buffy #1, which is the first cover appearance of Buffy.
yeah.
First appearance of Willow and Xander and Cordelia and Oz, because the comics came out just as season 3 was starting in America. So there's the first issues are all set during season 3.
Mhm.
In our first appearance, I think the story set sort of between the
So
two
is
seasons.
that a special edition where it's like the gold and black?
Yeah, this one came with. So I got this is a dynamic for. Well, it says another universe.com exclusive. But I got it through Dynamic Forces because there was a shopping network in the UK called QVC, and they used to have like a comic hour every month, once a month.
Mhm.
So you get stuff. So I did get like a few like signed copies of like Buffy stuff from there and superhero stuff as well. So this was an exclusive kind of gold foil one. So this
Yeah,
is the
that's what I
third
thought. Yeah,
cover.
yeah.
And this photo as well for this cover is different to the photo used for the regular photo cover. But I think it's from the same shoot. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't
No,
remember.
no, I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a kind of it's embossed as well. It's not just gold foil. It's like an embossed
I
cover.
know. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really cool. It's really cool. And then so like obviously at the time I was picking up I was picking up Buffy every month, so my aspirations of getting SpiderMan every month kind of fell to the wayside. And then like some other keys like picking up at the time, like issue 4, for example, is the first appearance of Angel.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Although I mean, when you look online, you don't see that, like, because it's hard to find information on Buffy keys. This is just for me, kind of cross-referencing all the issues I have,
And then
and
finding out
kind of
when.
working it out. So I
Yeah,
believe this is the first issue 4 of Buffy's the first appearance of Angel in Buffy comics, or in comics in general. Because when you look at sites like Comic Vine and that, like that will list like, oh, this random magazine is the first appearance of the character in a publication, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even though it's not like a comic story or whatever, but yeah, this is the first Angel.
Do you ever
Um,
pick up those magazine publications for getting that
um,
experience, or?
I haven't, but I mean, I've considered it, but at the same time, I'm not aware that it's like an actual comic appearance, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's more just
so it's
like
hard to
issue
judge it.
two or something like that, or
Yeah, and then some of the like the other key, and then like the other key as well is like Angel #1 is his
his
first
own
title.
series.
Yeah,
I
this
see
one's
that
yeah,
signed. Yeah.
yeah, this one's signed by Christopher Golden.
Is he the
Um,
actor?
no, he was the author of the series, or
Oh,
the
okay.
writer of the series. This came again from that shopping channel. It was a pack of 3. It was actually 1, 2, and 3 all signed. So this is 199 of 1,500 signed copies, I guess. And then, but in recent years, in terms of like Buffy keys, like I was like, I wanted to get something, so I got the Dark Horse Presents number,
The annual.
and
Yeah.
annual #1, yeah. So the first I wish Buffy was on the cover, but sadly it's it's a fine Hellboy piece, but it's not a Buffy. It's not
Yeah,
Buffy.
yeah. Yeah, that's
And
why
that,
the puppy #1 is her first cover appearance, I believe,
yeah,
as well. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So this is so first appearance of Buffy. It's just a short 5-page, 8-page story called MacGuffins, which is set between between series 2 and 3. So it's the first. It's not just the first appearance of Buffy; it's also the first appearance of Giles, who's the Watcher character from the show. But yeah, so I got this in recent years. It's a decent copy, I think. So I was quite pleased for that.
I have a funny story about that book. I actually I bought it from a U.S. vendor. Okay.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't ship to Canada. So my parents have like a summer like a winter house in Florida. So I sent it there. So basically it was sitting there for 2 years before I got it. It's just like I'm like, can I get my comic at some point?
Yeah.
So but I was trying to get that key for like a long time, but it was just sitting there, like literally, like
Yeah, and then, that's that's funny. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of Buffy goals, I'd like to fill in the actual comic covers rather than the photo cover, so I have the set of both.
I think that's just cool.
Then I just have a couple of like I've got all of the kind of Dark Horse Presents appearances and stuff like that, and then like Free Comic Book Day, and then later on, after the show had finished, they did like an official continuation with Joss Whedon in comic form. So Buffy season 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I've got all of them as cover A's, and they all had like B covers. So part of me is tempted to try and get the B covers as well, but the longer you leave it, I think it'll be a bit harder because from the season 8 ones onwards, there were smaller print runs, and just because of demand and stuff. And as with each season, the print run got a bit smaller sometimes. But I've got all the cover A, so I'm kind of content with that. But every so often, I'll see a lot on eBay, and I'm like, maybe.
Whatever the case, you can buy like a lot where like somebody has like collected like 1 through 60, or like that, where you can sort of buy it all at once, or.
Yeah, so I do run a research every so often just so that, but at least I can say I've got the cover A's of all that stuff. So it's just some of the mini series and one shots I still need to pick up. Like one key that I still need to get for Buffy is the first appearance of Faith. If you remember that character, she's like she was like the Overslayer kind of thing. But she so our first appearance is the first issue of a mini-series called Haunted, so I still need to get that mini-series, but it's not too expensive.
There was another character on the show. There was Angel, which was the guy, and then there was two other characters. There was the other girl, right?
Yeah.
And then there was the guy, like her mentor guy.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do they make their first appearances when she makes her first appearance?
Well, so our mentor Giles, his first appearance is the annual. Yeah. And then because the show's set during the third season, the rest of the cast, like all our friends and stuff, are in that first issue as well as their first appearance. And then Angel's issue 4. And then it's just kind of like ancillary characters from there, picking up news. So
there's not like as many keys. It's mainly just those couple books that are the big
ones. Yeah. The only other kind of major characters really are you'd want their first appearance is Spike and Drusilla, which I think their first appearance is in the main run as well. I'd need to double check. And then like Faith, the Overslayer that came in season 3, her first appearance is this first issue of the Haunted miniseries. But I mean, if you're not a fan of the show and kind of know the characters, that they're not keys, like in that sense, they're just keys for fans of the show. Like I don't know if, like as far as I'm aware, CGC don't kind of know any of those characters other than Buffy. Yeah.
I always wondered, like, if you could write to CGC and say, hey, look, this is a key book, and you should denote that it is a key book because it is the first appearance of this character, and if they would add to their database or something.
Yeah, I would be interested to see.
Yeah. Do you have any? Do you slab any of your books, or
I don't have any slab books. I kind of like the idea of them. Like I like raw books. That's just because the way I've always had them. It's just CGC's. I always bag and board them, and a lot of stuff. like I'll have like trade paperback versions of as well.
Mhm.
But but no, I've never slabbed them. The only things I've been tempted to slab are because I'd never like most of my books kind of when I was younger were modern kind of books, and I'd have like the
Okay.
odd kind of like bronze and copper age stuff. I never really had like silver age or like golden age or stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's only within the last kind of like 10 years or so I've been picking up like silver age stuff when I can. So there's like some runs I'm trying to do, and then I never thought, oh, I'll never get a golden age book. And it was to be honest, it was only when I started watching your videos, and
Yeah, you
I was
did
like,
get
oh,
some.
maybe I could get a golden age. I forgot to pull out the golden age books. Actually, they're in a box just over there. But
But I've seen you show some golden age in
yeah,
challenges actually.
yeah. So I got so I've the first one I got was Jungle Comics number 74. I found a
Okay.
good deal on eBay from a UK seller because sometimes they're not as prevalent on eBay or on the UK eBay at least.
Yeah.
And then I negotiated with the guy a bit. It was like he'd listed it for like 90, and I think I got it down to 70 in the end because it was listed. I think he listed
That's
it
a
as
pretty good. That's a good price for that book.
7.5 or something like that. So I really like the cover. It's I showed it in the bikini challenge video, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I only actually have 4 Golden Age books at the moment, and 3 of them have been shown in challenges. So there's still one to be debuted.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and after that was that I don't know if you remember, it was a UK Golden Age comic called Super Thriller comic,
Yeah, I saw that
number
one. Yeah.
15. And as far as I can tell from researching that, the main story with the character Captain what's his name now? Atomic someone or something.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as I can tell, that's an original story, but there's like a couple of backup stories, like a western and something else, and they're, I believe, reprints from America. But there's hardly any information on that kind of like book on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
that I
yeah.
could find online.
So is that a
Um,
British character then? Like a British creation or?
I believe so. I mean, according to when I looked online, his first appearance was an earlier issue of that book. So,
Oh, wow.
so I'm assuming so. But I don't know for sure. It's just
Oh,
kind of hard to find out. And then
yeah. Well, that's the way it is with Golden Age in general. Like it's like
yeah,
really hard to get much information. Like I'm actually impressed that some Golden Age books even went to the UK. It's like really hard, even in Canada. We're like
yeah,
right next to the US, but it's hard to get Golden
yeah,
Age books here.
yeah. I think because as far yeah, I've tried looking into it, but I mean, obviously there's stuff that was made originally in the UK, and then like I know from a recent conversation I had with someone else, or I was looking at a thread or something, and for example, Golden Age Superman didn't come to the UK until or Superman wasn't printed in the UK or something until, or the US comics didn't come to the UK. It
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
the mid 50s or something like that. But
So
um,
like way after,
yeah,
way
so
after.
like stuff was printed before, but yeah, it's just interesting to find out a bit more, kind of like affordable golden age. I wish I brought them over, but wary about getting up from camera.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then it was just that Spy Smashers that I showed recently, which I only paid like £20 for that.
That's not bad. I don't
Yeah,
have any Spy Smasher in my collection right now,
yeah,
but I
and
always
then
wanted to get one of those. Yeah.
my Maurice that I don't think I've, it's only recently I've started sort of setting goals for comics. So I was like, well, I really like Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. So I was like, I want to
Yeah,
get a Sheena cover. So my most recent golden age is a copy of Jumbo Comics. Which is
yeah,
a
yeah,
which is a Sheena cover. It's
yeah.
138 is the one.
Oh, nice.
So I've not showed that in a challenge, but yeah, I'm sure there's like a jungle girl challenge or something like
I'll do
that.
a Jungle Girl challenge in the future, just for
Yeah,
you.
it might make an appearance then. And then recently, the only other golden age thing that I have and that I got recently, I was buying a lot of uh, Harris Comics Vampirella from this guy just to like
Yeah,
fill
yeah,
in some little bits um because Amanda Connor's one of my favorite artists, and she did some of those books. I've just been kind of collecting Amanda Connor covers,
yeah. Mhm.
and he had a lot of like 50s British humor books that they're kind of like small size. I can see them over there. I could grab them and show you if you want. Yeah, they're like digest size, but in the first issue was the cover was nothing special. I think 5 was the earliest one in there, but all the other ones were kind of like good girl art, and it was like it was £10 for all of these books. And I can pop up and get it for you if you want to see them.
Get it. I'm sure people would like to see them. Yeah.
But they literally cost it was £10, I think. I just saw them. You know that way you kind of look at what other things people are selling, and I was just like, I'll just add these on as well. I'll put a bid for £10, and nothing came. But they don't have dates on them on the inside on the. But for the earliest one is really bad. It's got like really bad split spine. But this is it.
Yeah.
But the first, like this one, number 5 is really kind of bad, like spine split.
But still cool.
All the other ones are cool. But all the other ones were good girl art covers.
Oh wow!
£10. So this was number 15. Number 18.
Oh, these are really nice. I like them. I'll have to look for those.
Number 19 reminded me of Zatanna a bit.
Yeah, it looks like Zatanna a bit. Yeah.
Number 20, which is a Christmas one with the snowman. Number it was £10 for all of them. Number 37.
And when are these from?
Mid-50s, as far as I can tell. Number 39.
Oh, they're really nice.
And number 50. This is the best condition one. Number 50.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, and then they switched to yellow after number 50, so it was like 51.
Oh wow! For £10, that's an awesome deal. Like
55, and then number 69, which is a wee bit later, I guess. But
wow,
yeah,
that's a pretty good deal. Like £10, that's like a buck each, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Yeah, there's 10 of them, so yeah, £1 each.
That's pretty crazy.
But I just like, because I'm kind of like you in a sense. I do like a good girl cover.
Who doesn't like a good girl? Like,
exactly. And I saw them, and I was just like, because it was so like, compared to all the stuff that this guy was selling, it was kind of like so, like it stuck out, if you know what I mean. I was like,
it didn't. Yeah, because you said it was like Vampirella, and then all of a sudden these.
So I'm trying to figure out the best way to put them, if I should put them in a regular board or bagger board, or find them.
Well, I have some of those sort of more like, they're kind of like digest, I would say.
Yeah.
Like digest size. What I do is just I put them in the regular bag and board with comics, but what I do is always put them all together.
Yeah.
So that they're not like between comics, and I put it at the beginning of the box, or where it's not gonna have a comic in front of it or something.
Yeah, I may have to do that.
Yeah, because the comic will get bent around it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I just thought they were really cool, and so that's the breadth of my small golden age collection. So I would quite like to get more stuff. I'm just kind of picking it up when I see a good deal and it's something that I like. But I see the comics as well. Sorry,
you'll probably see those ones in a future unboxing.
I look forward to it. But I mean, so in terms of like comic buying as well, I haven't since I started buying them. I haven't always been constantly kind of getting stuff, just because of like funds and stuff like that, and kind of life circumstance. So when I would buy comics, it was if I was at a convention usually, and I'd look through the boxes and go, I'll spend this much on comics, and I'll pick out covers that I like, or stuff that I like it wasn't in trade or something, or stuff like that. So it was really only kind of sporadically at the shows after a while where I was picking stuff up. And so in the early 2000s, I started buying a lot of trades because it was a more cost effective way for me to read comics. So I have quite an extensive trade paperback and kind of hardcover collection. And it was at that time, about 2000 as well, where discovered manga as well, so like Japanese comics.
Okay.
So I was like collecting manga books and stuff as well. I find so I'd kind of look for similar things in American comics. So I found this series called Blue Monday, which is kind of like a manga kind of thing,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's like from American sensibility. It's
Mhm.
all about it, like these kids in high school that love music, that they like the same kind of music I listen to. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
cool. But like I say, the first manga I love was this series here called Magic Knight Rare, um,
I
which
don't
is
know it at all.
yeah, it's like I really liked it because it was a mix of elements of what were traditionally kind of boy series, but also girl series like as well. So it was like a kind of
Mhm.
a good kind of all rounder. But it's about these kind of girls that find themselves in another world and there's like robots and stuff. It's yeah, it's interesting. But I got into kind of like manga and stuff at the same time. But for a lot of the 2000s, the bulk of my buying would have been trade paperbacks or collected editions, and then just picking up comics here and there when I was at a show or if I was in a store and I saw something that I really liked. And that was kind of the status quo for a while, and then about 2016-ish, 2015 maybe, I started kind of buying more comics again, like back issues, like just for stuff that I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I
yeah,
wanted to get that back then, and I've suddenly realised that it's not as cheap as it was back then, kind
yeah.
of thing. So I'm like, oh,
Yes.
maybe I should get some of this stuff, and trying to get that, um, and also what I would do at the time was I'd look through because you could get the solicitations easily online, and I'd look
Hmm.
through like a couple of months in advance, and I'd say, okay, I want to try this new series or try this and that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and kind of order stuff. So a lot of that time, I was only really buying kind of like Marvel and DC as back issues. Most of the new stuff I was buying would be like Image or like Dynamite or those kind of publishers and stuff. So
Yeah, that's
um,
typically what I'm buying right now as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
for the modern stuff, there's not
yeah,
much interesting modern stuff lately, I find.
yeah, it's the same. So things I'll try and I'll read it for a couple of issues. If I like it, I'll keep getting it. If I don't, I don't. But
Hmm.
it tends to be mainly Dynamite and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Image kind of stuff I'm buying. If I buy a Marvel or DC book, it's usually because it's cover buy.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, same,
and,
same. Yeah.
uh, for example, I think this week was I think it was this week's I pre-ordered it, but like the J. Scott Campbell variant of the Wildstorm 30th anniversary because it was fair child
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Gen
yeah, yeah,
13
yeah.
and loved Gen 13. That's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to do
I
now.
picked that up as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I generally pick up anything with Scott Campbell or Adam Hughes. Like if they
yeah,
do something, I'll pick up their covers, right?
yeah. So I've been trying to fill in my Gen 13 runs as well. So that's good. But most like I say most of the stuff I'm buying now, if I'm buying back issues, I'm buying back issues for kind of big two for stuff that I want to get and fill in little runs here and there of different stuff. So like the one run I'm working on just now, for example, is the Supergirls run in Adventure Comics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've got about two thirds of that, three quarters of that now, so I'm almost finished with that. So it's just like little things here and there. And obviously the Buffy stuff that I'm doing, and then like I say, it's just been buying the odd kind of modern stuff. Like so, I'm buying like Vampirella and like the
Yeah,
Tranquility
yeah, yeah.
and
Did you ever
uh,
try to pick up any of the magazines for Vampirella or?
I don't have any, but I would like to get some. There's a few I've been looking at on eBay that are decent. Like there was a really nice cover that I saw when I was doing the underwater challenge.
Mhm.
I think it's 100 and something. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
but or maybe just below 100. I can't remember, but it's like her. It's a painted cover of her swimming underwater.
yeah.
It's just really 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 nice. And then I really want to get Draculina's first appearance, which is the
Number
second
two.
issue.
Yeah, I
Um,
have an extra copy of it.
yeah,
You know, if
nice.
you want, maybe I can send it your way or something.
Yeah,
See,
that'd be nice because
it's in pretty beat up shape though, so don't expect anything
yeah,
great. But
yeah. So there's only one copy of it on the UK eBay at the moment.
mhm.
And it's like a 5.0. I think it's like it's just I think it's just under 200 or just over 150 or something like that. The
Oh
person
yeah,
wants
yeah.
for it. So I'm kind of looking at it, but I don't know. I would like to get some of that stuff for sure. But I've definitely
I'm
been.
actually surprised how affordable, like except for a couple of keys in the early issues,
Mm,
the later issues are fairly like I've seen them for like $10, $15 kind of
yeah,
range. Not really, not super expensive.
yeah. I mean, I'd be kind of look at them because a lot of the shows that I go to, you don't really see that kind of stuff. There was one vendor at a show I had recently that had boxes of like Creepy and one of the
Really?
other ones, but no Vampirellas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, no,
You get
definitely,
a few
definitely.
crossovers that you can pick up sometimes if
Yeah, yeah, I'm quite interested in the Panther character now as well because I've been
oh Panther.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Panther because I picked up a few like I said, I recently bought that lot of Vampirella issues.
Mhm.
Um, and then whilst I was bagging and boarding them, I was re-bagging and boarding some of the stuff I already had just to, kind of make it all all look nice kind of thing. And there was a Panther Vampirella one shot by
Yep,
Mark Millar. It's just
I
one
actually
story.
have a double of that as well. Believe
Yeah,
it
so I reread that as I was kind of rebagging it, and I just love, it's one of my favorite Mark Millar scripts. I don't know what I love about it. It's a
or not.
good kind of good one shot. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get more Panther stuff as I fill out some of the old Harris uh, comics stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's mainly what it's been. When the pandemic hit, it was hard to get new comics over here
Yeah,
because
yeah, same
Diamond
here.
weren't sending them over. So I just kind of stopped a lot of books I'd been getting. So like I think Ice Cream Man was one I'd been getting, and a book called Gideon
Okay.
Skulls and stuff. And we just couldn't get the books, so I wasn't buying anything for a wee while. So I was like, well, I want to get more stuff. So I ended up buying more back issues, back issues on
Mhm.
eBay, and doing that. So that kind of refueled that. And like I said, wanting to kind of get stuff that I'd wanted to get when I first started, that's maybe gone up in price or doing that. So I
Mhm.
just kind of get what I can when I can afford it. Is pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like I say, most of my comic buying now is either back issues on eBay or it shows. If I'm buying modern stuff, it tends to be Dynamite and maybe like Image miniseries or something. And
Mhm.
then I back a lot of comics on Indiegogo and Kickstarter as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I noticed that in some of your challenge response ones where you back some really obscure title that I've never heard of, but with really cool covers. Like there's some really great stuff on
yeah,
Indiegogo.
some great stuff out there. I think with comics on those platforms, there's so established comic creators from the industry that are doing stuff. So Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Corner were quite a pioneer for this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like 10 years ago, they started doing stuff on Kickstarter and putting a lot of their creator-owned stuff out. So like new Painkiller Jane stuff or
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
yeah,
whatever. And then with Indiegogo, you have a lot of creators on there who creators that I've enjoyed from the big two that have either been cancelled for one reason or the other or
yeah.
aged
Mhm.
out and they're not done making comics, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tend
yeah.
to so I tend to back comics from uh, uh, like creators who were already in the mainstream that I like.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so stuff like this one might be controversial, but like a
That's okay.
Cyberfrog by Ethan Van Sciver. I always loved his Green Lantern stuff.
I was
Um,
actually trying to find this like Cyberfrog is actually from the 90s or
yeah, so he started off in Hall of Heroes for 2 issues, and then when
yeah.
he started working at Harris Comics, he put out issues through Harris Comics. So I have a good
Mhm.
chunk of them, but then he got cancelled basically from DC. So he's like, you know what, I'm just going to start making my own
Do it
books,
on
and
my own.
he's made a lot of money just from his Cyberfrog character. So this was the first one that came out, Cyberfrog Blood Honey. This is the chromium cover.
Yeah, it
Um,
looks pretty
um,
cool. It looks very
because
shiny.
he's only as far as I can tell, he's the only person doing chromium covers now. Because when they stopped doing them in the 90s, a lot of publishers don't know how to do them anymore. So he managed to find someone
And I
that
think they're actually
does
pretty
chromium covers.
they're expensive to do. It's not like they're
Yeah,
cheap. Yeah.
So this is the first print of that. I mean, I've seen CG copies of this before as well. But so like backing this stuff. But I think the way that the industry's going, because a lot of people aren't necessarily interested in kind of like people just want a good story, if you know what I mean. They're not necessarily
Yeah.
interested in the forced story that's added on top of that,
Hmm.
regardless of their political beliefs or whatever. So,
Hmm.
so I like that it's just a story. Do you know what I mean? So, but I've been picking up a few ones, so like a lot from creators, so like Ethan Van Sciver and he's Cyberfrog,
Hmm.
and She from Billy Tucci, like he does all these She comics now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I was actually, I thought she was like a dead comic, you know what I mean? Like, but I was
yeah,
surprised that they still coming out.
yeah, no, he started oh, maybe 4 years ago. He did what was called She Return of the Warrior,
Hmm.
um, uh, which was kind of a start of a new trilogy, and it had all had the main cover and different covers, and then she what was the second one called again? Escaping me. It's escaping me. And then
Yeah.
the third part of that was this She Sakura, which was shipping this year, kind of thing. So I showed like the Kenneth Roquefort exclusive cover in
Hmm.
the Swords Challenge, I think. But this is the Village G's main cover for it. But yeah, no, she. I always liked. She had uh, in the mid 90s as well. I got this comic book price guide, like a UK one,
Yeah.
from a discount bookstore, and this book is wrecked. So it's round the corner on the bookshelf, but it's completely wrecked because of the years I've spent thumbing through it, going, "Oh, that comic sounds cool. That sounds cool." And they'd
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
pictures, and there was always She pictures in it, and I was like, I really want to get the She, so I got some like She back issues, and then when Billy started doing these, I've been kind of getting all the new She
So
stuff.
I got into She, and I was really into, like, you know, I nowadays I collect Good Girl, but during
Yeah,
the '90s I collected Bad Girl. You know, all the bad
yeah,
girls like Vampirella, She, Lady Rawhide.
yeah.
You know, just there's so many of them. But yeah, you know, I was like, oh, She is so cool. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
like that whole like Asian flavor. That was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's really, I love it. I love it. So, but yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of great She books coming out, and he started doing kind of like omnibuses of because it was never really collected before She, so he started collecting it
Mhm.
as well in big hardbacks, which are nice. But like I said, I've been buying a lot of stuff from creators who are going the kind of Indiegogo and Kickstarter route. Another one was this one, Wraith of God by Adrian Lapreste. I mean, for me, this has probably been my favorite comic book story of the year. You know,
Oh,
so far.
really?
Yeah, it's really good. Aaron Lopresti did he had a good run on Wonder Woman, like the
Oh, okay.
second volume. So I don't know if you have any of these covers from there, but he does does really good covers. And then Graham Nolan of like Batman, creator of Bane and stuff, he's been doing stuff on there as well. So he did this book, The Canoe, it was like
I
a horror book.
actually have seen that like on some hot list or something.
Yeah, I think I showed it on one of the challenge, the Monsters challenge as well.
Oh, maybe
Um,
that's where I saw it. I was like trying
yeah,
to remember where I saw that before. It's a really cool
um,
cover.
yeah, and then yeah, it's just Graham Nolan being Graham Nolan, I guess. And then he did another one called um, Alien Animal, which is like a 50s sci-fi thing.
Okay,
And
that's a little
he's
weird.
doing he's got one that's funding just now called The Ghosts of Mac and Baki, which is about like some zombies in Florida. That's kind of tied in with a real life story about a hurricane that was down there in the 30s.
Okay.
Um, and just the stuff like this, like Inglorious Rex is another one that's by Shane Davis, who worked for DC and stuff. It's really cool. And then I saw your video the other day. You picked up ISOM as
Oh yeah,
well.
yeah, some, yeah.
So ISOM's kind of so Eric
Only
July's kind of.
that the first, that's cover A. I
Yeah,
couldn't get cover A. I could only get cover B
yeah,
because it was sold out by the time I
yeah. I ordered it on the first day, and it took me about 40 minutes to order it just because the website kept crashing. But
yeah.
so normally when I buy kind of back books online, it's like I say, mainly been from people who are established creators in the industry. But I've started branching out to other people. I know that when Eric July was doing this, he kind of reached out to these other pros, like to say what worked, what didn't work before he set up his stuff and that. It's drawn by Cliff Richards. I think he did some Buffy stuff actually as well. I need to check that. And then Gabe Al-Taib's a colorist. He was a colorist on some of the Superman books for DC and Star Wars books. But again, he's doing his own creator. Gabe's doing his own creator-owned comics as well. But yeah, so I've been branching out to people who aren't necessarily in the industry that are putting out a good product. So I was really interested in ISOM. So I got ISOM #1, and another one I got recently is Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter.
Nice.
As well, and then this is from a creator team that again aren't in the mainstream comics, but their comics are getting to that quality or are already at that quality, if you know what I mean.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at. Just back issues on eBay, and it shows Dynamite books and creator-owned crowdfunded books.
So I should probably wrap up soon. So just where can people find you, and what are you doing on your channel?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at it's Epoc252. My channel really started as a hobby. I studied film at university, so it was just to keep up doing little editing and stuff. And I thought, well, I'm interested in comics. I'm interested in film. So whenever there's film news, maybe I'll start doing a video. And I started doing that. The videos I liked the most were the ones where this person's been cast as this character, because then that way I had an excuse to show a comic cover. So it's mainly those kind of short news videos. It's only recently I've been the only other thing I did on my channel was like unboxings of like collector's editions and stuff like that. But it's only recently I've been branching out, doing other stuff, like your challenge videos, and I've been thinking about doing a few other like comic related videos kind of thing. But it's mainly the news stuff and your challenges when I have enough books to do them. Anywhere else, I'm Epoc252 on most things, so you can find me on Instagram at that, or Twitter and that, or whatever. So,
cool. I'll put all the links in the description below. And I'd like to say thank you for coming on the show. And sorry to cut it sort of short, but yeah, it was really great having you on the show. And again, thanks for coming.
Yeah, definitely. Always happy to get involved with other comic creators and talk great books and show off some books. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Okay, bye for now.
That's good. Thanks. Bye.